Another one of my favorites is all about pi. And pi is also an irrational number, although for a long time people didn't want to consider it a rational number. In fact, way back thousands of years ago, people had actually calculated pi to a fairly accurate degree. I think the Babylonians had it to about 3 1/8, which is pretty close to 3 1/7, which is what we often use to approximate it, 22/7. And through history, people developed ways to calculate pi to greater and greater precision, hoping that they might find a place where it either repeated or terminated, which would mean it would be a rational number. Well, eventually somebody proved that pi is not a rational number. And it's still a game today to calculate the number of digits of pi. In fact, it is a favorite thing that people do when they get a new computer, not just when they buy a new computer off the shelf, but when a new computer is developed, a new supercomputer, for example. One of the favorite things to do is to calculate a specified number of digits of pi, see how long it takes, and now you know how much faster or slower that computer is compared to what everybody else is buying. Well, one of the reasons that pi fascinates me is back around 1995 when the Pentium chip first came out. Somebody got a hold of one, an early one in some university. I forget which university it was, but somewhere in the Midwest, and started running his favorite pi digits calculation. And he didn't get the same result that he used to get when he ran it on his other computer. So he figured, well, maybe I made a mistake when I created the input. So he ran it again and got the same incorrect result. So he called a friend at another university and said, I'm having a little trouble with my program that calculates digits of pi. Can you do it? And the guy said, well, I'm having the same problem too. And I don't really think the computer is working right. Well, nobody wants to call a computer manufacturer a chip maker like Intel, highly revered. The chips served probably 95% of all the computers in the world, at least all the personal computers, and say, we think you have a bug in your computer hardware. So they timidly called somebody in Intel and said, we think you got a bug in your computer hardware. And they said, no, you're wrong, and hung up. I'm making that part up. Eventually, though, Intel apparently admitted that, there was a slight problem in the floating point coprocessor, but it's way out there in the 15th digit, and nobody really needs to be that precise. Well, the internet just lit up with all sorts of jokes. We're Intel. We're number 0.9999996, or the top 9.99993 reasons why not to buy a Pentium processor. Eventually, Intel agreed to replace all of the processors that in the computers that had been shipped. But the story doesn't end there, because a few years later, when the Pentium 2 chip came out, there was another bug, but this time Intel caught it before they shipped any product. However, the word got out and the same set of jokes hit the internet as had happened back in around 1995.